Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be dealing with the very basics of bonsai care. I'm going to be covering only 4 of the topics which I think is the bare essentials that you need to know in order to be able to care for your bonsai tree. These 4 areas include knowledge, placement, watering and pruning. If you find the following content helpful, then you can thank me by clicking the thanks button just below the video. The first point is knowledge, and by knowledge I mean knowledge or information about the species of tree or plant that you have. Ideally, before you go out and buy yourself your very first bonsai tree, you should know what you're getting in for when you're looking for specific species. If you were given a bonsai as a gift, then the first thing that you should be doing is to find out more about what you were given. Knowing the precise requirements of the plant or bonsai that you have will help you a lot in achieving what that tree will need in order to excel. There are many wonderful books that are available today for bonsai growers and enthusiasts that will give you a wealth of information. If you really want to take your bonsai to the next level and become more serious about it, then joining a local club or mixing with a group of like-minded individuals in your neighborhood will help a lot to develop your knowledge about bonsai in general and the tree that you have. In addition to these resources of books and a club, perhaps YouTube and other sources of knowledge, you definitely need to spend more time in nature, as nature is going to be the best inspiration and teacher that you could possibly find. One of the first and most important decisions you're going to need to make is where to place your bonsai tree. An important concept to grasp is that light does not equate to sunlight. In other words, that very bright location in your lounge is not necessarily going to allow your bonsai tree to grow because it needs sunlight. Some trees, such as the more delicate leafed varieties of the deciduous trees, maples and other such similar species, require more shade. So although they can be placed in the full sun in the early parts of spring, during the height of summer you may need to move it to a more shaded environment below some trees or otherwise shade cloth. If trees receive too little sun, very often they will not develop properly. Examples of this would include the Lagostrumeria, which likes a lot of sun in order to bear the beautiful flowers. Shrubs such as the Pyracantha or firethorn or the Cotoneaster or rock spray, as it's commonly known, if flowers are not able to develop, they will not form the berries which are so well appreciated. Conifers such as pines and junipers will not grow very healthily at all if not exposed to a lot of sun. If you have an affinity for very small bonsai tree, then special care is needed here. The containers often used for these very small trees dry out tremendously fast if they are in the amount of sun that is needed. So embedding them in a tray of crushed gravel or similar material and then wetting the entire space allows the trees to gain more access to water. Once you've developed a sizable collection of bonsai trees, then a space dedicated for growing and displaying them is ideal. And really, your creativity is the only limit, and perhaps your budget. Do keep in mind that the intensity and position of the sun does change as the seasons move, and so you should keep an eye on your trees and perhaps swap them around with those that could do with a little bit more sun, with those that are actually getting a little bit of a leaf burn. Bringing your favorite trees indoors to display is a great idea. However, when you do so, I would recommend that you limit the amount of time the tree spends inside to about 2 weeks. Although tropical trees can stand to be indoors for much longer periods of time, they too grow best if kept outdoors. Let's move on to point 3, which is watering. It is said that a bonsai enthusiast takes many years to master the art of watering. Now, of course, you don't need to master the art of watering before you can keep a tree alive, and so I'm just going to share some of the most important tips with you. And the first one is that it is extremely difficult to water a bonsai properly if you're going to be misting it. The best method to water your trees is using a hose pipe with an attachment that sprays the water. The spray should be gentle so that it does not erode the growing medium from within the pot. The best routine for watering is to water some, pause, and then water again, pause, and then water again. So essentially 3 times. And in this way, the whole container will have filled with water, and what you need to be looking for is water running from the drainage holes at the bottom of the container. Only then can you be sure that the whole container of growing medium has been properly wetted. If you only have a smaller collection of trees, then another solution is available to you. You can either fill your kitchen basin with water or alternatively a plastic container. Immerse each tree in this body of water. Initially, bubbles will rise from the soil. After a few minutes, those bubbles will have stopped, and you can now assume that the growing medium has become saturated with water and you can remove the tree. Moving on to my fourth and final tip, which is pruning. But before you decide to cut anything, make sure that your scissors are nice and clean. There are products like the Green Mate block, which removes all sap buildup from the tool. Sap which is allowed to dry on the cutting edges of your tool places an extra burden on the tool when you try to make the cut, and also it is an accumulation of organic material which could lead to an infection of the tree itself. Once you've completed cleaning the scissors, then you want to make sure that you sharpen it. Cutting plant material with a blunt pair of scissors is going to lead to damaged plant cells, and this is going to mean that the plant is going to take longer to heal that wound. If you only take one bit of information from this video away with you today, then this is the most important thing I want you to remember. In a healthy state, a tree is going to develop new little branchlets. These might make the tree look a little unruly. However, you must resist the temptation to cut them off immediately. The reason is that this new vigorous growth is vital to the future health of the tree. By removing that growth prematurely, you're depriving the tree of the energy that it hoped to recoup from that growth. Ideally, you should wait until the shoot has developed 6 to 8 pairs of leaves before you consider cutting it. Junipers are handled slightly differently. The plant will tell you when it's strong enough to be worked on. This kind of growth is called a runner, and it is an indication that the tree is in a good state of health and can be worked on. When you do make pruning cuts, you want to ensure that 2 or 3 or so leaves remain. The reason for that is that at the base of each of those leaves there should be a dormant bud which you will be stimulating to develop when you make the cut. This will lead to a bushier plant, or as it's known in bonsais as the ramification. Repeated pruning over many years leads to a tree that has a beautiful appearance of age. And of course, it's one of the key reasons why our trees remain bonsai. Something else that I should remember that's quite important when making cuts is that you need to seal these cuts. Protecting cuts with sealer is like adding a band-aid to your cut on your body. It protects that exposed plant tissue in the immediate period after making the cut, and it also promotes healing by callus formation over the wound. There are many different types of sealers on the market today, but use the appropriate sealer for the size cut. There are liquid and there are solid sealers or putty type sealers that can be formed onto the shape of the wound. If you found that content helpful and you'd like to thank me for it, please do so now by clicking the thanks button just below the video. Of course, there's so much more that you could say about bonsai and keeping them growing very well, but the 4 areas that I've discussed in this video is really going to stand you in good stead. For more in-depth information about styling and creating your own bonsai trees, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until next time, hope to see you again. Take care.